All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Ryan, thanks again for joining us today. Just so everyone knows, this weekend you will be driving the number 12 Menards Duracell Ford again at Darlington in the NASCAR Cup Series race, Real Heroes 400. So thank you for joining us today via Zoom. Hopefully all of our connections stay in place for the next little bit. So we'll go ahead and take questions. If you have one, to the media, we do ask that you hold your question to one at a time. We'll do our best to get follow-ups in if we have time. And also, please just feel free to use the hand raise. That is probably the most easiest. If you're having trouble getting in touch with me, please use the chat session as well. And also, if you're waiting to be granted permission to record, just know I'm working on that as well. Okay, we'll take our first question. Go ahead and use the hand raise. Okay. Claire, would you like to go ahead, please?
Sure. I hope you can hear me. Are you able to hear me fine?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, great. I want to ask you about rolling off at Darlington and literally what you think it will be like, because it could be a bit crazy, or you guys could be all professional and maybe everyone will be, but can you just sort of define what you think it will be like?
I think, yeah, it's going to be a little tough jumping back right into the swing of things after, I think I counted it was 62 days off it'll be, and jumping in at probably the most difficult track that we go to and just lining up and racing. So that'll be tough, but I feel like everyone will be pretty responsible, getting going, being smart. Even though it's not a super long race, you still got time to work on your car, especially at that competition caution. Given a lot of time to kind of make wholesale adjustments if you need them. So I feel like everyone will take it easy for the first little bit, but honestly, the muscle memory of everybody I feel like is pretty good. So once you get one run in and things like that, I think we'll be back to normal.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we'll take our next question from Kelly Crandall. Did you have a question?
I did. Ryan, with no practice or qualifying, is there going to be any disadvantage to the first start of the race in the sense that, you and Todd are still getting to know each other and communicating? So is there going to be any disadvantage to not having that track time going into a race, maybe in terms of, that first run, how the car feels and things like that?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I feel like a lot of people will be at disadvantages, just having, the type of track it's going to be. It's going to be a green racetrack. So the track will change a lot throughout the day. So as far as me and Todd go, I feel like we've communicated great, right off the truck at every track this year, the first round of practice. And I just kind of look at it like that, of where it's just a little bit different scenario where you're racing people. But at the end of the day, it's you got to be able to quickly tell them what it's doing and to go work on it. So I don't feel like it's any more of a disadvantage for us than anybody else out there with the limited practice time or the no practice time.
Okay, Bob Pockers, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm just curious how you feel as far as NASCAR's the procedures they've put in place. A temperature test, but no COVID-19 test. And then, are you comfortable that if someone did get sick in the following week, that the sport could go on with those who had not yet tested positive?
Yeah, that's a tough deal, right? I mean, I think NASCAR has been doing a good job, or has put some pretty good procedures in place to try to make sure everyone's healthy, before we even get into the racetrack. And then throughout the weekend and quarantining the crew, the spotters, the driver, the over-the-wall guys. I think they've done a pretty decent job at it. We got a call with them tomorrow about some final procedures that's going on, which I'm looking forward to. But, I feel confident in NASCAR. We have to be really, really careful and safe. And I feel like everyone's been doing the best that they can in making sure that you don't get sick and then expose other people. So I'm confident in the procedures that they have put in place for us, and hopefully, everyone's healthy and nothing happens like that way.
Thank you.
All right. if you can please use the hand raise option to let me know that you would like to ask a question. Jeff Gluck, do you have a question?
Yeah, Ryan, I'm wondering what your race day routine's going to be like. I mean, are you just going to hop in the car, drive the track by yourself? I mean, when's the last time you've done that? Have you done that at any short tracks in the past, or have you always at least had somebody with you at the track before?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be really any different. Whether you're driving to the track, being by yourself, my family sometimes comes to them, but I really, my procedure won't be any different. You just get in the car on race day and you'll drive to the track. The only thing different, obviously, is no practice or qualifying. So, and not being able to go in the garage, not seeing all your guys, that's going to be a little bit different. Of first time I'm going to talk to them, we'll be on the radio. So that'll be a little bit different, but, you got to take it in stride. You got to understand what they're trying to do and be safe. But as far as my routine goes, it's going to be different, but you try to make it as normal as possible and getting yourself ready to go.
Thanks.
All right, Nate Ryan, did you have a question?
Actually, no. Sorry, Amanda.
No problem. Zach Albert, do you have a question?
I'm good, actually. I guess I just wondered, Ryan, has there been how much communication have you been in with your crew chief? And I apologize if you've already been asked this before, but I realize communication has been quite different under the circumstances that we've had the last several weeks.
Yeah, I've been talking to Todd a good bit. We have a big group chat with all our team. You try to, give everyone updates and see what everyone's been up to and how their families are doing and things like that. But, we actually were able to go to the Ford Sim last week. It was very, very cautious the way we did it. I felt like we did a good job of limiting people there and people in certain rooms, but it was nice to be able to talk to them in person from a distance for a little bit there at the Ford Sim. But I think it's been fine. It's obviously it's different not being able to go into the race shop. A lot of people haven't been in the race shop in 2 months. I went to the shop yesterday to sit in my Darlington car, and we did it outside, and it was me and one other person, and you were all face masked up and making sure you were really safe. And but I didn't step foot in the shop, just the way they have it right now. So that's been a little odd, but I'm sure we'll get through this. And I think between Todd and I think the communication's the best it can be.
Great, thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Michelle. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, Ryan. I know that NASCAR is taking all these precautions to keep you guys safe and everybody who's involved, obviously not just drivers. With 4 races in a couple weeks, and you guys go to the track and come back home, and you go to the track and come back home again, are you concerned, or do you think other drivers are concerned about the possibility of that back and forth spreading the virus?
I'm not really concerned if we stay safe. If we've been doing what we've been doing, these past 2 months of being kind of locked in and quarantined, just being smart about it, and with the way it's going to go on Sunday, I'm going to get to the racetrack that morning, sit in my motorhome, and then when it's time to go out there, I'm walking right to my car and getting done and walking right back. There's going to be really limited contact, and I feel like they're doing a lot of things to try to make sure everyone's safe, not only at the racetrack of testing everybody, but in our shop every day. When this past week, when guys go into our race shop, they test them, and just to make sure that they're okay to be around a limited amount of people. So I'm not concerned. I feel like we're going to do the best we can to try to make sure nothing spreads like that. But I don't think the back and forth should cause a huge issue, because I think everyone's going to be pretty separated in their cars, in their personal vehicles and things like that. You can only hope. That's what you hope for. And like I said, at the end of the day, you just have to be smart about everything and be as safe as you can. And NASCAR's, I think, doing a good thing to try to keep it that way. So that's the best answer I got for you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to take Alex from the Charlotte Observer. Go ahead with your question.
Hey Ryan, I'm curious where you are right now. I feel like quarantine's suiting you pretty well. You're outside, you got the stash. I mean, how have these past couple weeks been for you?
Well, I'm in my yard. If I'm in my house, I don't have any reception, so I have to step outside whenever I do calls. But no, I got the perfect quarantine set up. I got a decent amount of land over here in north of Mooresville, and my dog's been happy that I've been home a lot. But no, just trying, figuring out new things. Been at Dad's shop a little bit. He's got this new business, building trailers that I've been helping him out with. And, around here I got a decent amount of acres, so it keeps me busy just doing different little projects and things like that and all those things. So it's been the best that it can be, but it's been nice to finally count down the days here and weeks to finally get back racing. You miss your crew guys. That's your second family, and I miss seeing all those guys and their families. And it stinks, I won't be able to see half of them for a while, but it's best you can be. So
Yeah.
All right, next we'll go to Greg. Go ahead with your question.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking the time out today. As you already mentioned, no practice or anything. It's going to be kind of a challenge, but I mean, there's a chance this could be a disaster. And you guys, NASCAR's on a nationwide and even a world stage. So, I mean, is there extra pressure on you guys, you in particular, maybe not to screw this up? I mean, have you talked among yourselves or to make sure it doesn't happen? Well, say if you go into the first turn and you haven't raced in an actual car in so long, it could be a disaster. I don't think it will be, but there could be. Does that give you like extra pressure than a normal race?
I mean, like I said before, I feel like everyone's going to be pretty cautious, to make sure that doesn't happen. I feel like there's going to be a lot of eyes on our sport, a lot of eyes that haven't watched our sport maybe before. And, I feel like it goes back to, the iRacing deal of seeing all the people that have maybe never watched or new eyes that haven't watched racing before, them watching the iRacing thing. I feel like when we're going to come back and we're one of the very, very few sports that are back, I think a lot of people are going to be watching. So it's going to be a really big day on Sunday to make sure we put on a good show, not do anything too bad, like going into turn one and wrecking 20 cars. And I feel like we're all professional enough not to do that. It's a long race. Everyone knows what's at stake of making not only NASCAR look good, but making our sponsors look good as well. They're going through hard times just like everybody else, with their companies. So it's really big that they've stuck with everybody. And it's really important to have, give them a good showing too. So, I mean, there's always that possibility. I mean, that's the random factor, which you never know what can happen. But I feel like at the same time, all of us are going to be very courteous to one another, especially getting going and making sure we don't do anything foolish early on to make it look really bad. But I have confidence in the whole field. They're all really good drivers, and I think we'll be ready to put on a good show.
Thank you, Ryan. Have fun Sunday.
All right, next we're going to go to Tucker. Go ahead with your question.
All right, thank you, Amanda. First off, Ryan, your mustache game is really on point today.
What the fuck is he?
And second, with this engineering and simulation heavy as NASCAR is now, what challenges are there really to basically starting again, just going into race mode with no practice or qualifying?
Well, I mean, you got to. Oh, sorry. I mean, I think with all the simulation and technology we have nowadays, and we can go back and look at last year's setup and cars and things like that, it's the same package as we ran last year. So I feel like you can take that information and kind of transfer it over and say, okay, this is how we started the race. This is how we ended the race. Let's go somewhere in between or where you think you're going to go. And, Todd and my engineers, they've been working really hard on the sim stuff. Ever since we figured out Darlington was going to be our first race, they've been working nonstop, really, via internet to kind of work on simulation and things like that. So it's not like, back 20 years ago where there really wasn't any of that. So I feel like you have a little bit better idea just from the technology side of kind of how you need to be. Now, saying that, you could always be way off. You never know what can happen as far as your setups or track temp or tires or things like that. But I feel like you can get it fairly close. You would hope, at least, just because all the technology and all the work that those guys have, and just looking back at previous races and data and things like that.
All right, thank you.
Right, next, we'll go to Nate Ryan. Nate, go ahead.
Thanks. Very important question for you, Ryan. Will your quarantine beard and mustache still be around Sunday, or has Team Penske relaxed its rules?
I was waiting on that, and you know, I was going to give it a shot, and I have a video with Advanced Auto Parts today that me and my dad are doing. My dad specifically told me that if I had my mustache, he would not do it, so I have to shave it. He's like, I'm not sitting next to my son who looks 10 years older than me. I was like, well, I'm just trying to make you look younger, Dad, and he didn't buy that, so it will not be there, unfortunately. But oh well, it was fun while it lasted.
Thanks.
All right, Ryan, that does appear to be all the questions we have today. So thanks for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you at Darlington.
Thanks, Ryan.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Also, I have a recording, and I will be sure to send that and make that available on NASCARmedia.com. Thank you again.
Great job, Amanda. Thank you.